What's going on, Whisper Nation? It is another mock draft Monday here with the Fantasy Whispers, and we are so excited to be joined by Stepmom Lauren here on March 15th. Let's get to it. Right here. No need to wait. We got Stepmom Lauren in the house. Today is a big day. We are very excited. Great to have you with us, Stepmom Lauren. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel a little left out of the facial hair game going on. Yeah, I did shave earlier, so I am clean today. So unfortunately, I'm not in the COVID facial hair crew today, but that's okay.
I didn't share that.
Put my hair
We didn't mean to leave you out. That's on me. I'll take responsibility for that leave out. I'll make sure you get the memo of full 7 days.
Shirt on though.
Yeah, repping the brand. We love it.
I had to put this mop out of the way first, which I just got cut. You would never know.
Well, thank you for joining us so much, and thanks for repping the brand. But before we jump into Whisper Nation and all our own good stuff, I want to give a big shout out to all the incredible work that you're doing and make sure our listeners on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever they're picking us up right now, can follow you after the show. And I'm sure they're already following you. If you're not, what the heck is wrong with you? But why don't we make it a little bit easier for them? And why don't you tell them where they can follow you? Because you're a writer for the Fantasy Footballers. You're a writer for NBC Sports Edge, formerly known as RotoWire, and as well as for the Fantasy Pros. So they can catch you all over the place. What's the best way to stay connected with you, Stepmom?
I don't even know how to connect to myself. It's I'm very spread out. No, I'm kidding. You guys can find me on social media at Stepmom Lauren. And it's funny because you were just saying, NBC Sports Edge. I've taken a hiatus, if you will, from social media, trying to I'm old, so my brain needs to regrow itself in the off season so I can be recharged and fill in the Swiss cheese holes. But literally it's Roto World was then NBC Sports Edge. And I'm I was gone for 3 weeks. What happened? What is going on here? And so I'm now a writer I'm still a writer. It's confusing. I'm a writer for NBC Sports Edge, Fantasy Footballers, Fantasy Pros. You guys can find all of my work. I do post it on my website, which is stepmomlauren.com. I'm more responsive. Don't Google it. That's not me, by the way. It's somebody else who's the other one. But the fantasy football is me. So come find me. Say hi. I am terrible with Instagram. Way more responsive on Twitter. Just a heads up.
I thought it was pretty funny. It almost got really existential there for Stepmom Lauren. She's like, I don't even know how to connect to myself. I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm on a find myself mission. And we're glad you found yourself and you found us again. Yeah.
I kind of was, Big Travie. I kind of was. I woke up in the morning, the second week of January, and I was like, what do I do with myself? And then after the Super Bowl, I woke up, I'm like, is there meaning? Is there meaning to today? I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe the fifth pan of banana bread. I will find value in that fifth pan of banana bread that I have made this week. Yes. That's where I'm at right now. Existential illumination comes to baked goods for me. Yeah,
it's one of those things. I work from home anyway. I have for 10 years, so I can't use COVID as an excuse for getting nothing done at home or trying to do new projects or whatever it is you want to call it. No, I just drank earlier.
I love the line I saw somebody said. You notice that people who are always late because of traffic are still late to Zoom meetings? But we don't want to be any more late for our Whisper Nation mock draft. We're doing a 12-team PPR mock draft here, 90 seconds per pick. No defense, no kickers. We got all 12 slots filled up here. If you are joining us here on YouTube or Facebook or through Twitter, make sure you like and follow the channel so you can catch the sleeper rooms that we drop every week so you can live draft along with us. But if you didn't get a slot this time, it's okay. Follow us along in the chat. Keep up to date. We were going to be answering all the questions. So join it, draft along with us, and be sure to like and follow so you can actually draft along with us next week. But Johnny, is there anything we're waiting on, or can we go ahead and get this bad boy started?
No, let's go. I'm excited. Everyone here is for Stepmom Lauren. We got a lot of people commenting. They're excited she's back.
Somebody jumping in, Easy Daddy jumping in, right?
And I will say these spots are getting harder and harder to come by as far as Whisper Nation getting in, because we're pumping out these every Monday. And people are quick with their trigger fingers on getting in this mock draft.
I almost didn't even get in this mock draft. Thank you, Austin, for giving up your spot.
You are welcome. Yeah, that's the truth. We've had to make some creative flip arounds to make it all fit, which is a cool problem to be dealing with.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
As if you wouldn't have a spot. Come on now.
we will always make sure we do that for family. It's what we here are doing is building a community where folks feel like they belong, and that's the coolest part of fantasy football. We love it so much. But I want to ask, the draft started here, and Travi's the first one on the clock. We've been asking our panels, our guest hosts, if you will, who they're slotting in the first couple of picks right now. It's a new year upcoming, and we've gotten a lot of different answers. Christian McCaffrey pops to the top a lot, but Dalvin Cook seems like maybe a safer bet. What are your thoughts right now as the early round selection, Stepmom Lauren?
You can skip me until you get to the 107. I'm not going to give away my strategy on who I want to take. What are you talking about? People are watching and listening. I shan't.
The always competitive Stepmom Lauren, even in an early mock draft, is not giving up an inch here.
No way.
Dude, I have to share the one thing I heard Joakim Noah like a decade ago in a press conference. They were asking him about an upcoming game, and they're like, what's your strategy for interior defense? This against this matchup, it's going to be a tough matchup. What are you planning on doing in the paint? And he's like, that's called strategy? Why would I tell you?
Okay.
I was like,
101 off the board should be Alvin Kamara, to answer your question.
I
like that one.
That's so, yeah, he fell to me. Yeah, for sure. He fell to me in the 106. I'll take that all day long. It's just, it's an interesting question that you do bring up though, Austin, is because after the COVID year, and it was all the first round draft picks in the first 4 rounds busted because of injury. And Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah. So now it's like being existential again and being like, what is the meaning of first rounds? It's just, it was hard. I wonder how many people are going to be gun shy. Where are these guys going to go? How are they going to fall? Do you want to pull the trigger? When is too expensive? When is a really good value? Who knows? But
this is a great point. And it's a takeaway that I was starting to play around with last season when you talk of the value of a first rounder. And I'm wondering for you, does their potential backup, that handcuff, mean anything more for a first round selection than it does for your other picks? My thinking was if you're going to insurance policy one player, your first rounder is your most expensive buy. And if you had an insurance policy on one player on your entire roster, that would arguably be the one you'd want to have backed up. Should that be something people consider when they make their selection of who would be a cheap but effective handcuff? God forbid something happened to my first round pick. Or is that too much thinking and you should really just go for that player's individual upside?
I think it's going to be what you're most comfortable with, because the last thing you ever want to do when you're drafting is go with a strategy that you don't believe in. So if that is where you want to go with, go for it. It's your team. It's your team. It's your choices. And it's what you feel the best with. So whichever way you feel the most comfortable taking your team, I think is going to be the best option for you. And don't forget, there's also trades. So don't forget to use that leverage to your advantage as well. For me personally, I'm not so much worried about getting specific insurance policies on players on the same team as I would be maybe last year, because of, I guess I actually don't know the answer to that question, because I want to see what happens with OTAs, training camps, preseason, and things of that nature. I think it's going to be different this year for obvious reasons, but we'll see how different, I think, is going to be the question. Okay. And now I'm up next and I don't know what to do.
Oh my! And I love that take. And while you're figuring out what to do, and we talked about the changes coming up ahead, I wanted to ask Big Travie about our boy Aaron Jones and the Green Bay Packers. Off of that 4-year deal, he just signed, inked up for $48 million total in the deal. How are you feeling about Aaron Jones's fantasy outlook for this upcoming season, the impact that he's going to have for the Packers, and what does that mean for A.J. Dillon, Big Travie?
Well, the news broke yesterday. I was having some brunch, so maybe it was the chocolate chip pancakes, maybe it was, the mimosa, but it was, or maybe it was just the fact that this was like a team-friendly deal. I was jacked on this. I had no thought in my head. We talked about it for weeks now. Austin, we talked to Alex Strofe, who works in Wisconsin. The money,
Jamal Williams podcast.
Yeah, the money didn't seem to be there for Jones. They didn't think they were going to be able to make that deal happen. Miami was getting into the rumors, all of these things that were swirling around Aaron Jones. And then boom, team-friendly deal. He still gets a decent amount of money. $13 million signing bonus was included in that. So I think it worked for both sides. Clearly, Aaron Jones wanted to stay a Packer. If you look at Aaron Rodgers' comments after the loss to Tampa Bay, he was very existential, to use our word of the day, talking about people's contract situations and how he didn't know if he was going to play with Aaron Jones ever again because of that. Well, Aaron Jones is back, and if you look at what makes our offense click, ours talking about the Packers, is the fact that we have such a good, diverse running game, and Aaron Jones is a huge part of that. The biggest reason. So I think it's huge, and good on Johnny to take him there. That's probably where he belongs, back of the first, beginning of the second, as a guy that is probably a shoe-in if he stays healthy, or is a shoe-in to be an RB1 if he stays healthy.
I love all those takes, Travie. And before we move on from the Green Bay backfield conversation, I'm just wondering, I feel like Aaron Jones's ceiling is not going to be higher than it has been. Last year, we had a little bit of a pause. You and I both were admittedly a little shy on Aaron Jones, thinking that it was going to be more of an even split in this Matt LaFleur system, evening up the running back handoffs a little bit more. But we saw Aaron Jones's talent really shine through, and you and I have called him a Kamara light. He's just really an exceptional type running back. But A.J. Dillon is no slouch either. And I love Jamal Williams and how smart and effective he is with the ball. Dude hasn't fumbled since kindergarten, but he's not a great running back in terms of elusiveness and to make some highlight plays. A.J. Dillon, on the other hand, could be the second coming of Derrick Henry, at least from a size and a metric standpoint. And you expect in second year A.J. Dillon to be making more of an impact. There's no way this can up Aaron Jones's ceiling, can it?
Well, Jamal Williams being gone could give him some more volume. I don't think it'll give him too much more volume. Jamal Williams is more of a spell. We'll see what they end up doing with A.J. Dillon, too, this year and the split. I don't think it ups his ceiling, especially because we're talking about probably bringing in a wide receiver. Johnny and I were talking off air that the Packers are actually in talks with plenty of free agent wide receivers right now. They're just trying to see how the market gets set first, depending on who gets the biggest deal and then how the dominoes fall. So if another wide receiver comes in, you could see some receiving work being taken. So I could see the argument for his ceiling just being the same and not being any higher. But I still love the offense, and it's led by Aaron Rodgers, which means opportunities will be plentiful. It's kind of like this thing we've talked about this early on in Davante Adams' career. Does he score too many touchdowns? Can you bank on that? Well, when you have Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball, who loves to throw you touchdowns, you can bank on some of that touchdown productivity to continue. And I think it's very similar with Aaron Jones. He scored a lot of touchdowns. Is the bottom going to fall out on that? Well, not if Aaron Rodgers is leading your offense. I think you're going to be okay.
Great points there. And we're going to do a run back here as Stepmom Lauren is getting ready to make her third round selection. I want to run it back for our audio only listeners right now. We had Christian McCaffrey start at the 101 spot, followed by Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Davante Adams, first wide receiver off the board, Alvin Kamara at the 6th spot, Tyreek Hill gone, followed by Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Ezekiel Elliott, DK Metcalf, and Aaron Jones to close the first. Second round started off with DeAndre Hopkins, followed by Josh Jacobs, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, James Robinson, Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler, love that name, Patrick Mahomes, Cam Akers, A.J. Brown, DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Third round began with Michael Thomas, followed by Justin Jefferson, Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins. Miles Sanders is gone. Stepmom Lauren takes her first wide receiver with Mike Evans, and Calvin Ridley gone, and George Kittle then by Jacob Bley, the number one fan. I wanted to ask Stepmom Lauren, I like this little stack you got here going with some, gadget feels like a disrespect, but some really nimble, athletic, explosive running backs here with Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler. And then Mike Evans as your stack. You want to walk us through a little bit of what you were thinking with these guys and what led you to pull the trigger on the players that you did select here through the first three?
Yeah, so I didn't think that Austin Eckler was going to fall any further than where he was already at. I was not going to be able to get him at the 306. So I did, in some opinion, possibly reached a little bit, but Austin Eckler is awesome. And I absolutely love that offense this year, especially with Justin Herbert. I want as many pieces as I can. I don't feel like that's too expensive at the 206 at all. Alvin Kamara is a no-brainer for me. He should be the 101 off the board, in my opinion. And then Mike Evans is one of those elite wide receivers that I was kind of surprised was still available in the middle of the third. So if this is how my team starts looking in real draft time and come August, I'm going to be happy as a clam. This is freaking awesome.
It's pretty wild because I was looking at Austin Eckler at the 201 spot to pair with Aaron Jones. I really like Eckler going into this next year, but I also like those other running backs. But bringing up Mike Evans' name again, second week in a row where I got him last weekend around the same spot in that third round. And I think he's a tremendous value at wide receiver right now. And I think you're going to continue to see that for the next couple of months at least. Like, people don't realize just how good he is and how good he has been. I think that's an absolute steal. I would be taking Mike Evans all day long if he's in midway through the third round. Absolutely.
And Mike Evans is like getting faded, even though he holds a record for never having a sub 1,000-yard season. Mike Evans to me is like the most disrespected superstar wide receiver I've ever seen. He is the unquestioned number one on his team. Yeah, Chris Godwin is there and eats in, but Mike Evans never slouches. It's just other dudes are performing at a high clip. And he's like, great, let's go win football games. But the man is 6'5". He's 27 years old, still 3 years away from 30, and a wide receiver can perform at their elite levels a couple years into their 30s anyways. He's tall, he's big, he's never had under 1,000 yards. Tom Brady said he wants to make him a living legend. Like, what are we missing here with Mike Evans? To me, he should almost be back in that top wide receiver conversation, but lucky for you.
Yeah, and there I know that there were some times for Mike Evans this past year that were really frustrating when it comes to the fantasy manager's perspective, because his finishing stat line would be like 2 receptions for 12 yards, but he got 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, score a touchdown. Otherwise you have a terrible stat line at the end of your game. So I think that may play into it a little bit, but he's that big playability guy. I'd rather have him than be a manager for a team playing against him.
Great point. And while we got you, Stepmom Lauren, I do want to pick your brain as much as we can here on what your general kind of strategy is here for a 12-team PPR. Is there a specific – we got Ryan Weesey's comment up here on the thread real quick. Had every intention of jumping in and making Lauren look bad, but I was too slow. LOL. Just kidding. Lauren is the only person I trust more than myself in this industry. And we are all in agreement there and very excited to have her on the show here. My favorite part of Mike Evans is his willingness to fight the entire other team at a moment's notice. That dude plays. That guy right here is a football player.
He's got passion, that's for sure,
as we like to say. But I know Stepmom Lauren here is making her 4th round selection. She went with Mark Andrews, and I did want to ask.
That look on my face, I was like, that's right when the time, and I was like,
where does that? Why does that face come in? You obviously had more guys you were considering, but you went with the stinky face Mark Andrews.
Yeah, it's not stinky face for Mark Andrews. As these boys know, I love Mark Andrews. Despite his down year last year, it was, can I possibly wait one more round? I don't think that I can. When it comes to the tight end landscape, as we all know, this is kind of almost overset at this point. It's a dumpster fire. So you're either really, really good or you stream them. So I want to be able to have on my team a tight end that I know I can just plug in. May not be as productive, if you will, as Travis Kelce, because let's face it, nobody is. But I would rather have Mark Andrews as my tight end, even though I do feel like I reached for him a little bit. But now I can focus on some other areas of my team and not worry about it too much.
And to you view Mark Andrews then as a positional advantage. He is maybe that last level of maybe like the 1B categories of tight ends for you? Yes.
I think so. I don't know. He has the ability to be so incredibly explosive. And it's also going to depend on what kind of wide receivers that they end up picking up. But I love
see the rumor that came out just like a couple hours ago that the Jags and the Ravens are close to a deal that would send DJ Chark and a draft pick to Baltimore for tackle Orlando Brown. Jaguars looking for protection for their future franchise QB, and Baltimore gets Lamar Jackson, an alpha wide receiver.
I like it. And I like it for Mark Andrews even better.
I hate this. Why? I hate this so much.
Why?
Because you love DJ Chark.
I love DJ Chark. I love Mark Andrews. I even think Marquis Brown is a good wide receiver.
You don't love Lamar.
I don't like Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. The dude's not a quarterback. He's a running back. And you can't, like, the dude does not throw over 400 times, and you have the weapons to do so. And it's going to be frustrating. And I can already see it because he has all these weapons and he's just not accurate enough.
And this is when I need my snacks because I see Travis's face right now, and I'm just gonna.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Johnny. Like, it's just like he improved every year as a passer until last year. So going back to Louisville, he improved every year as a passer. Then in the NFL, he improved after the 8-game starter rookie year. Then he went in and improved as a passer, won MVP. And last year, yeah, he started very slow, but he picked up pretty, like, ever since the, infamous poop game, he picked up his play and was a better fantasy quarterback and a better all-around quarterback. And if you get him another weapon, I just don't know how we can't say that he couldn't get there. I just don't want to get into the business of doubting Lamar Jackson, a guy that talented. I just think you're going to end up wanting to eat a lot of crow when you say he's not going to do it. Do I think I want to draft him as early as people are drafting him? No. Did I want to draft him that early last year? No, especially not after an MVP year. But to doubt that he could make it work with Baltimore, I think is a little bit of fool's errand there, because I just think that guy is so talented.
I'm not saying he's not going to be a good fantasy quarterback because he gets a lot of rushing yards. But when you're only throwing the ball less than 425 times, that is so incredibly difficult to have fantasy relevant pieces around you, because there's just not enough pie and pieces to go around to make all these other pieces relevant. And that's my worry, is that he is not going to, you have to be so efficient at passing. And I will give it to him. Have we seen it before from him? Yeah, we did. We saw it 2 years ago when he was an MVP level type player. And that's my concern, is he has to get to that MVP type level and repeat it again.
But nobody's saying that he has to get to MVP level to make DJ Shark or Mark Andrews and both fantasy relevant. I think that's the question we're getting at. Like, you're saying that the DJ Shark trade there is so gross based on the sample size that we've seen with Marquis Brown, who is not an alpha wide receiver. Like, let's just call it what it is. He's not a guy that's going to be an X wide receiver. You get a DJ Shark in, you get, Marquis Brown, and now these guys are complementing each other. And to Lauren's point, then Mark Andrews is freed up in the middle of the field as well. So I think this actually could be something that is good for, the entire family.
It makes me feel a lot better about taking Mark Andrews in the 4th round.
The crystal ball was going there.
Do you want to take...
Honestly, and here's where we're talking about this, just kind of the juxtaposition of your opinion on a specific, not your specific, but anyone's opinion about a fantasy relevant quarterback. Would you rather have Lamar Jackson, not as your fantasy starting quarterback, but Lamar Jackson throwing the ball to pieces that you have, or someone like Cam Newton? I would rather have pieces on a Lamar Jackson.
Sure. But I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball to DJ Chark than Lamar Jackson throwing the ball, because I know one's going to be way more accurate than the other.
If I was a DJ Chark roster, I would rather have Trevor Lawrence. And I think it's for Lamar Jackson. He's going to do whatever it takes to win the football game, as is John Harbaugh going to do whatever it takes to win the football game, which is probably just going to mean pass catching options are somewhat not as reliable for the tenure of John Harbaugh and for Lamar Jackson. I mean, just has John Harbaugh. When was the last time John Harbaugh had a reliable wide receiver? Steve Smith? Was it over there? And it was.
Bolden was there for a little while too.
He had really statuesque quarterback with Flacco and.
Take a guess at how many times Lamar Jackson threw over 200 passing yards, which, by the way, 200 passing yards was what Josh Rosen averaged, just for a reference.
Who cares?
5 games. No, it is. You can't just say who cares, because it is. You definitely care, because the passing yards are what give your fantasy options and players the ability to reach their potential.
I guess for the options, if we're analyzing the options, if we're looking at DJ Chark potentially or Mark Andrews going over there, but from a Lamar Jackson perspective, he's probably his floor is his floor and his ceiling is number one quarterback.
But is his number one quarterback? I'm not disagreeing with the fact that he could be the number one quarterback, but it's because of his legs that you would say that,
of course,
that's why he's getting there.
And the slot he is their starting quarterback and they expect to be in the playoffs. So Lamar Jackson's going to do whatever he has to do to win enough football games. And maybe they're going to push him to a level where he's not ready to handle it yet. But I'll never forget the shirt Lamar Jackson wore. Nobody cares, work harder. Like, this dude he's just going to keep developing. So to Travis' point, like I'm not going to be betting against Lamar Jackson. I'm not a big fan of Crow, so I just try not to put those bets.
Well, another thing too to consider as well is where is DJ Chark going? I mean, right now he's not even drafted on the board yet. So you're looking at a question of value when it comes to the wide receiver position. And if being on a Baltimore Raven is going to, in the perceived thought of people I'm playing against, drop DJ Chark down the board, I'm going to scoop him up then where his value is at its best. So as my wide receiver 1, do I love it? No. I would rather have a little bit more consistent or the opportunity for more consistency on the board. But if he's my wide receiver 3, yeah, I'm great with that. I'm 100% okay with that.
Yeah, to Stepmom Lauren's point, it's like he right now he finished in the top or out just 48, I think, was the wide receiver right last year. So like he wasn't going to be drafted very high as it is. The Baltimore news, to Johnny's point, is probably going to hurt even more. So like then you've got a situation where like he's already going to be a natural setup for positive regression this year. So like where's the value that we're going to get for him now? So, I mean, I think it's going to be a good pickup.
I just think that the ceiling lowers significantly without Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball.
I disagree.
That's the only unfortunate part.
For redraft, I disagree. I think in Dynasty, it does hurt him long term, but I would much rather have a proven piece on offense at quarterback throwing him the football than Trevor Lawrence coming into kind of a dismantled organization where they're trying to get pieces around him so he doesn't die like Joe Burrow nearly did. Sorry, I'm going to take him on Ravens as opposed to on the Jags.
I like that take. That's good. Appreciate that one here. And
just in redraft though. Dynasty.
Just in redraft though. Point noted. I'm going to run back the rest of the names that we've gotten to up until this point while Johnny is closing out our 5th round. We left off in the 3rd with Stepmom Lauren's Mike Evans selection. We like that one. Calvin Ridley followed, and then George Kittle went gone. Julio Jones, Najee Harris, first rookie off the board by the FB therapist. Lamar Jackson and Allen Robinson there to close out the 3rd. We saw the 4th begin with David Montgomery, Keenan Allen, Darren Waller, Jamar Chase, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Mark Andrews, there he is, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, Robert Woods, T. Higgins, and Adam Thielen to close out the 4th. We saw the 5th round begin with Josh Allen, followed by CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, Cooper Kupp, Kenyon Drake, Chris Carson was taken in the 5th by Stepmom Lauren, Melvin Gordon to follow, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, Todd Gurley, and Johnny here is making his selection in the 5th. Stepmom Lauren, you grabbed Chris Carson there in the 5th. What are your thoughts on him? What are your thoughts on the Seattle running back?
It was kind of like, I already have my running backs, but I'm going to take him so no one else can have him. He'll be my RB3. Why not?
There we go.
It was good value. I think that it was a good place to take him to. Another thing that I've noticed as well, which, some people may know, if you're new to fantasy, this may be a whole new thing for you, but it's a lot easier to find value at wide receiver in the later rounds than it is for running backs. It's just how the position works. And in fantasy, I want to scoop up all those talented running backs, obviously in case of injury, but so that nobody else has a chance to have them either. Plus, it's a leverage piece for when we're actually playing real fantasy football and you need someone to trade, which is always a good thing to have. So I wasn't going to let him stay on there. There also wasn't another player that was screaming at me to say, draft me now, otherwise I'm going to fall. So if the tier of players that were available where he was taken, if they don't fall down to the next round, I'm okay with that. There wasn't anybody that I was like, oh my God, I must have them, that I don't think is going to be available to me next round.
I like to take one of the things we had talked a lot about was explosive opportunity, not just volume, but explosive volume. And I love the Chris Carson pick because while there's some indecision, he kind of gets a little bit of disrespect, but the dude is such a hard runner who's still 26 years old. Yeah, he's consistent. He fights hard. And even if he's not with Seattle, if he ends up being somewhere else or he stays with Seattle, I just love what he could be about. It seems like he'd do a lot of teams a lot of good.
There's some good spots too that I always say this every week, but like Atlanta, like you look at if Atlanta got any of these kind of like decent running backs, one of the rookies, something like that, like Aaron Jones would have been a good land for Atlanta.
There's just rumors Kenyon Drake could land in Atlanta, which
I don't know if I like as much, but I think I would prefer Chris Carson to Kenyon Drake, but I could understand how that would be good opportunity alone. I mean, you look at Devonta Freeman 2 years ago and you were just like, he was disgusting, but he was getting so much opportunity. So like it was kind of worth it at that point. So I think Atlanta's a good landing spot.
Speaking of the switch around teams, what teams do you see or players making a massive benefit if they did just have one switch that occurred? Like if Atlanta did get a legitimate running back, does that all of a sudden improve Matt Ryan's chances? I think we're going to see a lot of free agent movement coming up here. And I'm interested from everybody, but most interested to hear what Stepmom Lauren has to say. If there are any specific moves that you're just like, oh my God, if Jacksonville, if Trevor Lawrence did work out, or if the Packers got a second wide receiver, that would really change things around. Is there any free agent hopeful things that you're keeping in mind from a fantasy perspective, Stepmom?
No. I learned the hard way. Never get your hopes up. It will be dashed. You will be upset. There will be tears and crying and lamenting. So I just wait until it all unfolds and then I react. So there's some places where I think would be interesting. Like I wouldn't mind seeing Juju Smith-Schuster in Miami. That'd be super fun. Or in Green Bay. That would also be super fun. What team really needs a slot receiver is really the whole point of Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm very curious to see where he's going to go. No, dang you, Mark Shoe. He took my Odell Beckham Jr. pick.
There's some really good picks in this one. Like Raheem
you know what? I'm doing it. DJ Chark.
Yeah, there he is.
Wow.
And you are hoping, though, for the trade. I know we're not really hoping, but if DJ Chark landed in Baltimore with proven quarterback Lamar Jackson over incoming rookie future boss Trevor Lawrence, right? That's good for you, right? Or at least you prefer it.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
Also,
so Mark Shoe. What's funny is, hold on just a second. Mark Shoe, 27 minutes ago, said, "I feel so honored to be sniped by Stepmom Lauren every other round." So I think he was just trying to get you back here by sniping OBJ off you there.
Mark. Well played, my friend. We are snipey, go snipey. I love it. I love that. Just real quick, going back to DJ Chark as well. Yeah. I feel like he's kind of quarterback proof. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers to really make my argument for it. But I feel like he can be pretty productive regardless who is in at QB. I think he had to do that with Jacksonville between Minshew and I don't know who else was it.
Jake Luton. Well, Luton came in and threw him like a 70-yard dime right off the bat.
I think ridiculous. He's like a Terry McLaurin or like a Logan Thomas for, Washington football team that had a revolving doors of people under center. Mm-hmm. I think that he can really get it done. So I'm not necessarily too worried for DJ Chark for that respect going to a new team at all, let alone someone like Lamar Jackson. So I'm not worried about DJ Chark as much, but we'll see. I like him, so I took him. How about that?
I love his talent. I love DJ Chark's talent. And the other thing here now to talk about, well, if this happens, is now Laviska Shenault, even before, to me, was a very interesting late round sleeper. And now he would be put at the very top of my sleeper list for late round guys if he's going to be the alpha number one for the Jags.
I just had an outrageous deja vu, Johnny. Like outrageous.
I just love Stepmom Lauren's.
I
love Stepmom Lauren's energy today. She's trying to find herself. She got deja vu working.
Outrageous Deja Vu is my favorite album in 2021. I just love that one. That one just hit so good. Outrageous Deja Vu. That thing just banger after banger, man. It was just like, so good.
Outrageous Vu.
Literally, you saying Laviska Shenault late round sleeper or something. I was like, I've had this conversation before. Jesus,
well, Johnny said it a million times, so I'm sure that's probably it. It's just reiterated.
Like literally, I was, and I can smell. I have corned beef boiling in the pot right now in preparation for St. Patrick's Day, which I know is on Wednesday, but my brother's in town, so I'm having dinner with him and his wife. So I was like, let's do an early corned beef and cabbage and veggie dinner. So I'm smelling that, and you saying Laviska Shenault. I'm like, I have done this before.
I love that. That's so weird and great.
I
know. I wanted to ask you, we've been asking our panel and our guest hosts when they come on of second-year players, both from the running back and the wide receiver angle. We'll start with the wide receiver ones first. Who is your favorite second-year wide receiver coming in from a fantasy football perspective? We just saw Brandon Ayuk taken off the board. That's my personal favorite on a second-year level. I just love the style points. But, Justin Jefferson was incredible. So many guys. We have sleepers still like Rieger, who a lot of folks have said they're still excited to see what he's about. folks, CeeDee Lamb, they think he's the best prospect we've seen, despite having Gallup and Cooper ahead of him. They're most excited about him. T. Higgins has been a popular name as well. Just such a talented class last year. Who are you looking forward to their sophomore season the most, or who comes to mind, Stepmom?
Well, you've actually named 3 of them. It's Brandon Ayuk for sure. I love Brandon Ayuk. I absolutely adore him. T. Higgins is another one. I am very curious to see what he does. Jerry Jeudy is someone that I really want to see him, because Cortland Sutton should be healthy this year. Who's my next draft pick? So whoever's in front of me. If you really want to be mean, you can take Cortland Sutton from me. That's fine.
He's gone.
Oh, is he gone already? Okay.
Yeah, he went 2 after you.
I was hoping I could get him at
well,
the end.
took him from me, so congratulations. I love Cortland Sutton. But I think having those 2 wide receivers available for Drew Lock or whoever's in a quarterback is going to be stretching the field out just a little bit more than they had last year. So I'm curious to see what kind of steps Jerry Jeudy can take.
Jerry Jeudy, that was Ryan's take last week, wasn't it? I think it was.
My Ryan Weiss, who also said that Mark Andrews is dead to him. You cannot let 2020 come in between. No, I won't hear it. I will not hear it. We will fight next time we Zoom call.
A virtual fight.
And how about
he knows how much I love Mark Andrews. I cannot quit him, and I don't even care. I'm gonna write a whole article for the Ballers, and I'm gonna specifically bring up your name about how I'm forced to do this so that people do not lose their faith in Mark Andrews. And who knows, maybe by the end of it, I'll be like, he's dead to me too. That happens.
You guys are both gonna have these like political campaigns against each other. Like Mark Andrews is not who you should draft.
Ryan Weiss is one of my favorite people of all time, and I'm very, very lucky and honored to be a fellow writer with him for the Fantasy Footballers. Also, work he does over at Club Fantasy is really fantastic too. So he was well aware of my love for Mark Andrews, like I think it was 2 years ago. So he reiterated it last year, and then it really disappointed him in 2020. I'm sorry, Ryan.
Show, Mark
Don't
Andrews.
lose faith. Don't lose faith. I love Mark Andrews.
6'5", age 25. He had 5 games of double-digit points last year. If you can just get that snap percentage up. He's a sexy man. He's tall. He's got the stubble. We can talk about the facial hair.
We're talk about his stats. He's 6'5". What's his waistline? I mean, come on, let's go.
The hair on the top forms this cool shape. Yeah, no, it's all good.
Which I think is really cool that he manages his diabetes and manages to be a professional athlete. It's pretty cool.
Voice is giving a shout out to the guy pressing the buttons, showing that. So that's it.
It's my turn. Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do?
You got 30 seconds.
I'll figure it out. Don't judge me, Dad.
Yeah, Johnny with the BDE, the big dad energy today.
Let's do the 10th.
I'm not gonna lie. I am very much
why not
interested in all the news
that's not in the 10th. Oh, that was too early.
Forming and dropping and the rumors, and I'm a rumor mill guy, and so seeing all these rumor potential and like people just.
What rumor mill's got you going right now, man? What's the top of the Johnny radar here?
I'm going to take a guess. Lamar Jackson.
No, he's not going anywhere. He's stuck in Baltimore. So no, I'm really intrigued to see Will Fuller where he lands. I really, 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 really hope he either lands with the Green Bay Packers or a sleeper team, my Arizona Cardinals. And that would be amazing if we were somehow able to get Will Fuller and pair up Will Fuller with Hopkins. So definitely looking at that. And then the other one is like Kenny G. Where's Kenny G going to go?
No. Oh my gosh.
So there are rumors that Kenny G could be replacing Allen or could be replacing DJ Chark, and that's why they're willing to move him. And so things are getting interesting. I love all of this speculation.
That feels like a good shift over there. Like good use of where he's at. I did want to round out these sophomore conversations here. Stepmom Lauren, we saw you take Russell Wilson. The end of this quarterback run there.
Took way too early, by the way, people. This is what happens when you don't pay attention to a draft, which I did not. I had my screen scrolled all the way down. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in like the 10th round. I can take Russell Wilson. Way too early. Way too early to take a quarterback for me. But since I drafted him. 7th, I guess, is okay. I
think this is a great pick. I love it.
There's other quarterbacks I'm happy to wait on later. Like Ryan Tannehill's a really good one. Matthew Stafford, if he isn't taken already, with the Rams, which besmirches myself to take a Rams player, but I'll do it anyway.
What are your thoughts on stacking up multiple QBs in a draft? I mean, you didn't take an early round one, but you took that second tier in a Russell Wilson, who I give you kudos for because you grabbed him after Dak Prescott was off the board after Deshaun Watson was gone. Kyler Murray and Josh Allen were taken 2 rounds ahead. So I think Russell Wilson is appropriate in that category, despite his second half finish last year, all the years stacking up before that. We know what he's capable of, and he's got a good host of weapons there. But which second year running back? You mentioned a really great list of wide receivers. This year with the running backs, we got some really interesting names. We got J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, CEH, James Robinson. It's a pretty stacked list. Which second-year running back are you looking forward to the most and targeting in your drafts?
Oh, I would be happy with a lot of names if I got them in my draft. I am not there's no one that I'm avoiding. Yeah. The one I'm curious to see how he's going to be used in his second year is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm wondering if his workload is going to change, what is going to go on with that offense. So he's the one I'm going to be more focused on from an analyst perspective. From a fantasy manager perspective, I am all in on someone like Cam Akers or James Robinson. J.K. Dobbins, I'm still out of the Baltimore Ravens backfield. I don't like it. It's too tricky for me, and I can't say with certainty if they're going to be a bell cow or not. So any one of those running backs that is going to have a solidified role in 2021, sign me up.
I like that one. And John Harbaugh's just never given us a real reason to think he wants to employ a bell cow back.
No, because what he does is he's like, oh, J.K. Dobbins, time to shine. And then who scores 8 touchdowns is the Gus bus. And this is awful. Do you know how difficult this is, John Harbaugh, to do my job when you are like this?
Maybe we should just sit John Harbaugh down. Maybe he doesn't know.
How can I give advice? How can I do this for the people when he is so obstinate?
We'll get him a Tito Mojito, and we'll get it going, and
I will get him liquored up and drink him under the table. That's not the question.
Yeah, my money would definitely be on Stepmom Lauren in that,
which is really sad, but slightly proud.
I don't know, but John Harbaugh's gone through some stuff, though. I wouldn't underestimate what tools he's had to pull out of the drawer underneath, to get through some of the things that he's had to do. So that would be I would like to see that.
I guess he's fine. I'm just staying away from the Ravens backfield.
We got Jake 1079 in the chat. Welcome. Thanks to everyone in Whisper Nation again. Make sure you've liked and subscribed and throw us your comments up here. We'll be sure to get to all of them and pop a lot of them up here on screen. He asked, what do you guys think about Jonnu Smith in New England? I have him in a dynasty league. Travis, you had talked a lot about Jonnu Smith. We've all talked about the talent of him. We know how successful tight ends in New England had been when quarterback Tom Brady was present. He's not. Does it matter anymore? Is a tight end is a dominant tight end in New England mean anything at this point?
I have to quote the great Patches O'Houlihan from Dodgeball and say that's about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop. I'm not excited about Jonnu Smith going to New England at all. I wish, had it be with a Tom Brady or something, then I could understand what the volume for a tight end means in an old New England offense. I'd be excited, but unfortunately I was more excited to see what Jonnu could do with another year in Tennessee. Because he started so well last year and then trailed off at the end. I would have loved to see what he could do with Tannehill, but I just can't trust the quarterback situation enough to get excited about Jonnu Smith. So Jake's, if Jake can sell him on the excitement to New England, I don't even know if that exists. If he can try to sell him in Dynasty, I would. I just don't. I think you could probably draft a tight end that might have more upside. Maybe you can, I don't know, some sort of deal for a Cole Kmet or something, somebody with a little more excitement that's coming into their next year. So unfortunate.
Yeah.
Wait, you're telling me a guy that has improved his passing completion every single year of his career.
Is this some weird Lamar Jackson draft?
No, I'm just.
Who are you talking about?
I'm joking. Yes, no, I am. I agree. This is absolutely. Travis and I talked about this before the show.
Who were you watching last year? Because
I was like, wait a second, this couldn't be a Cam Newton. This is not possible. I thought he might be going for Stidham or something. Like maybe he's going to try and make a case for Stidham.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is terrible news. Yeah. This is terrible news. This is like.
He got paid. I mean, it's great news for Jonnu Smith.
Yes,
he got paid. He's gonna be set up. It's actually, I think it's a decent signing for the Patriots too. Like you want to get more pieces. That's good for fantasy. This is a very very gross deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree
Josh
with
A is actually Jay Blizzy, our
Yeah.
our Whisper Nation champion. So just got to give him a shout out there. So
I think he's dead right, though. Like, you definitely try to sell him right now on the hype of like, hey, look, New England doesn't have very many weapons right now. They're planning on using him because they signed him to a good contract. I would like lay all that stuff out and try to unload him because, yeah,
he's
that's not
just below face value. And face value for Jonnu Smith to me is a young, very athletic, up and coming tight end who was just sought after by a very competent play calling team in New England who went ahead and picked him up and is getting him paid. They want him. Yeah. And I think that's a narrative you'd buy, but we all know the production is good. It's not going to be there. It just can't be. They just don't have a quarterback. And now it could change, but a lot of ifs are going to need to happen for him to be a top 4 tight end next year. And I would just much rather take a dice roll on somebody else, but there is hype. He has got a little bit of hotness to him right now. And if you're in Dynasty and you're sitting on him, I trade hype for stability every time. Every time. Hype is so attractive. It's so intoxicating. It's a mystery box. It's like, oh my God, he's going to be the best tight end in the game. Gronkowski 2.0. Here we come. He's going to be a benchable, waiverable tight end. Get him while you can right now. You got drafts coming up.
He said I also have chocolate.
He said I also have Blake Jarwin. We're big fans of Blake Jarwin here.
Yes.
I think that if you could roll with Blake Jarwin and you can try to trade Jonnu right now on the hype, I would definitely do that. Very unfortunate. That was another guy I was hoping would come to the Cardinals, or at least just a better offensive situation to where they could use. And I mean, they're probably going to use him, but once again, it's like, my colleagues here said, like, what is the upside, right? Like, what is the true upside of Jonnu Smith going to New England? And it's like, it's hard to say there's very much excitement there at all.
And that whole situation could change in one offseason. Don't put it past Bill Belichick. The man knows how to work it, and he's not going to want to have a repeat of last year. We know that. So it could all switch, but all we can do is operate with the information that we have right now. And I don't think that information would suggest that Jonnu Smith is a viable pickup.
Yeah, I would agree with you, except the part where you said they don't want to have happen. No, I mean, I agree. The idea that Bill Belichick is not going to want a repeat of last year, except they signed Cam Newton again. Like, what are you doing?
No. Definition of insanity.
Yeah, like, okay.
And then also practice stuff. I just got to say on that one thing, the line's like, isn't doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, the definition of insanity? I thought that was the definition of practice.
Yeah.
Although
practice is insane sometimes, like 2 days. And it's pretty crazy.
There needs to be improvement in doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So can we say that there was improvement from Cam Newton's game through? I don't know. I didn't look at him from that.
I mean, his wider, he had no weapons.
Which is so annoying because somebody tried to literally sell me on Cam Newton all year for trading. I'm like, I am not going to take Cam Newton. Take your trade, go into the bathroom and flush it down the toilet because I am not going to touch it. And still, it was like every day. It was like,
Cam Newton, no. To give Cam Newton a little bit of fairness, he had 0 weapons. Like, his best offensive weapon was Damiere Byrd.
It was Jacoby Myers. Okay, watch it now.
Yeah, okay. But even Jacoby Myers didn't come on until they didn't start playing him until week 10, and that was their best guy. So it's like, all I'm saying. Hold on. All I'm saying is that this team could look significantly different knowing that they have Cam. That defense will be a lot better next year. And so they could just say, hey, I'm okay with Cam running the ball like he did in the first couple of games. Because if they get a lead and then with the defense that they could think that they could potentially get back from all these guys sitting out last year due to COVID, it could work. I'm
Johnny,
not a fan.
You're right.
Not a fan.
It's gonna be. It could look different. Like this time, it'll look like Cam Newton throwing. It'll be Cam Newton.
Pause.
I just say something real quick before my time runs out. Okay, so remember when I said that I took Russell Wilson way too early and it was in the 7th round? Here's why. There are still quarterbacks available like Aaron Rodgers. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to scroll down. I think Tom Brady might be still available. Justin Herbert did just come off the board, but that's what I'm saying. How you can wait on a quarterback. Go on, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's a great point. Thanks for jumping in.
It was relevant for our drafting.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I was just telling Johnny, like, it is going to look different next year if they have more weapons. It'll be a more talented team that Cam Newton can't throw the ball to. Like that's how it'll look different. Like he'll throw more incomplete passes to a better team.
That's going to be an interesting one. Before we get too far behind, I want to make sure we get caught up on our selected picks here. Stepmom Lauren is making her 9th round selection. We left off.
It's hard. I don't like these end rounds.
This week gets even more tricky. It does. So we'll give you all the time in the world. There's no rush here. I'm going to run it back here. Kyler Murray closed out the 5th. Ronald Jones started the 6th, followed by Leonard Fournette, Deontay Johnson, Raheem Mostert, Tyler Lockett, Odell Beckham, DJ Chark, James Conner, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, Devontae Parker, Devontae Williams, TJ Hawkinson, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, Tyler Boyd, Russell Wilson, David Johnson, Devonta Smith, Chase Claypool, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle, Will Fuller closed out the 7th round. The 8th round began with Chase Edmonds, followed by Devin Singletary, Damian Harris, Trevor Lawrence, Darrell Henderson, Brandon Cooks, Jarvis Landry, Michael Pittman, Kyle Pitts and Pittman, that's funny, Alexander Madison, Rashad Bateman, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, Justin Herbert, James White, Deebo Samuel, Hunter Henry, and she goes with T.Y. Hilton. I love that pick. I think he's being slept on pretty late, but in a redraft league, T.Y. Hilton with Carson Wentz could be nice.
Yeah, you had asked earlier, Austin, about which free agent signing, and I think it was one of the trade that already happened with Carson Wentz to the Colts.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what that could mean for that offense and fantasy football. Jonathan Taylor, Wentz himself, who at times has been a pretty decent, quarterback. Not last year with a bad line and bad weapons, but like, can he be behind one of the best lines in football and be a good quarterback again?
I know Johnny wants to see that come around. See Carson Wentz have a bounce back here. I want to see it too. I want to see it too. I'm not putting money on it, but God knows that would make me happy.
Eric's, I think you guys should have Stepmom Lauren on more often. She makes her picks fast.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Maybe we drop this down to 60 seconds.
The fantasy football or the football therapist, T.Y. Hilton as a free agent probably won't be back. Landing spot will be key. Yeah, because there's some rumors that maybe Indy goes after Juju, and that would be pretty significant. So we'll see what Indianapolis does there for weapons. But I do think that if there is a potential for Carson Wentz to bounce back somewhat, whatever that means for Carson Wentz to be, a winnable quarterback, I do think that there is potential there in Indianapolis, going back to his old coach who knows what works for him. But I don't know if the days of trusting Carson Wentz are ever going to come back.
Yeah, like I'll just make it clear, like it's not the main storyline I want out of Indy, with him going there. It's about all what he can do with the rest of the team and who could be valuable then and what it means for Jonathan Taylor and all those things. But it will be a subplot, to see what we can get out of Carson Wentz. He won't be drafted this year, but he may be a waiver wire guy or a spot that you're streaming him in, depending on matchup, because I think he can be already out of the gate better than Phillip Rivers was in fantasy. And so that's a point where Phillip Rivers was at least played once or twice last year. So what can Wentz bring to the table by going to Indy there?
He's going to have every opportunity in the world, right? He's going to have a great young running back in Jonathan Taylor to take that heat off. He's going to have other complementary backs who can keep the chains moving from that side of the offense. And then the wide receivers, we don't really know what they're going to be about. Let's go ahead and pretend T.Y. Hilton does re-sign with them. I think that'd be a boost for Wentz, but they should. It's a gamble for me, and it's a kind of an exciting one. It's like, what is Michael Pittman going to be about? Do we get a pleasant surprise out of Paris Campbell coming in this year? Maybe we see him with an off-season move. Who knows? That's going to be an interesting one from the pass catching perspective. But that line should still be pretty good. It's a pretty well coached team. It's pretty solid. It's going to be a prove it year for Carson Wentz.
Man, Hunter Henry in the 905. That's crazy.
Where do you want to see
him? He doesn't have a team. Where do you think he goes?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And they just came out and said they're not going to be going after re-signing Hunter Henry. He is free to pursue other signings.
Who needs a tight end really bad?
Cardinals.
True. What? You don't have any?
I don't know if we can afford him, but that would be
Dan Arnold. You don't love him? What?
Hey, Dan Arnold. Actually, I did like Dan Arnold quite a lot. I thought he was. He did very good for us, and he just had a little bit too many drops.
I will cry.
Oh gosh,
Seattle's an interesting landing spot for a tight end.
Yeah.
I like that. I kind of like Philadelphia too. I know you're a big Goddard fan, Travi. They've done such good work with two of them, and like I just not in on Zach Ertz anymore. I think his time is.
Oh yeah, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, they're gonna trade him.
Hunter Henry over there.
It'll be interesting though to see what Hurts is going to be able to do with dual tight end. Not every quarterback loves tight ends, like not every quarterback's going to be. Now a lot of the times the system is that way. Doug Peterson's gone, so is it going to be a dual tight end system again in Philly? So he's gone. Wentz is gone.
Cow.
I think Goddard could be
why
like
didn't I
a
get
situation.
that? Why didn't I do that? I was talking about that 2 rounds ago.
Laviska Shenault.
Yeah,
you haven't developed into your full potential yet.
Your listeners are very
final form.
You haven't reached your final form, bro. You just haven't matured into who you will become.
But that's exciting, Johnny. Maybe next week you could level up.
Yes,
like that's exciting. Progress is still on the table there.
It's so frustrating too because I wasn't even sold on my Michael Gallup pick, but I was like, okay, I was justifying it myself, and then it just.
I'm not sold on a lot of your team, but
yeah, well, that's okay. Whisper Nation is. But
speaking of the teams, when we get done with round 13. We'll have each one of us go through our own squad, give a little outline of why we did what we did. Whisper Nation, let us know who did the best. Let us know who did not do the best. And then we'll go through the rest of the teams here and do our infamous mock trade where we'll go do a breakdown of each team. One of the panelists will give their A through F ranking. And then if there's a significant contrast from another panel, they will share their words before moving on to the next. The Cast Pajamas says, I'd like to see Juju sign with the Patriots. For fantasy, I'd like to see him sign with the Lions. I guess actually with the Lions is a pretty good call. We've seen Jared Goff do good things for multiple wide receivers, and if Kenny Galladay's not there, they don't even have one wide receiver. Right? Like Jones is gone too. Isn't Marvin Jones gone?
Yeah, Marvin Jones is gone as well.
Marvin Jones is such a sneaky producer.
There's a lot of free agent wide receivers that are available.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm looking at a name right now that haunts me. So I'm not drafting this player right now, but I should.
Is it Marquis Brown?
Yes, and I'm not going to do
Interesting, because you drafted DJ Chark, who will be this year's disappointing player.
Oh my God. Drink some more vinegar, Johnny.
I'm just trying to warn you. Like you guys are telling me about the Kool-Aid, and I'm just letting you know about the flavor too.
Yeah, man.
What? I'm gonna go with a heart pick right there.
Jameson Crowder. I love the Jameson Crowder pick.
Like
that man. Why are we picking Jameson Crowder so late? Like this guy he's not every sexy. Year. He's not, but like last year, look at the games he played in. Week 1, 17.5 fantasy points. Next week, 10.4. Next week, 17.6. 3 games in a row with over 100 receiving yards. And he's shown us he can do it. He doesn't do it all the time, but he's still 27. I love Rashad Perriman, but he's not going to beat him.
Johnny, you said he's not sexy, but like he's not sexy for fantasy football. Like I feel like he probably could be sexy,
I'm a decade older than Jameson Crowder.
You what?
I said I'm a decade older than Jameson Crowder. It's phenomenal.
Is that funny when you start getting older and you're like, when you start as a kid, you're like, oh, I'm the same age as these guys.
I remember watching MTV when I was younger and I was like, I want to be so cool and be on one of those shows. They're so older and they're like 20 and 21. And now I'm like, I have arthritis.
You slept on your neck wrong.
How do I use Instagram?
But then you get to buy booze too when you're older, so that's cool too.
It is funny how that narrative does change though and evolve like as you're going through sports. Like you're like, wow, these people are the same age as me and they're doing awesome things, and then it's like pretty soon like you're like, oh, these people are younger than me and doing more athletic things. And then
you get into that judgmental phase. You're like,
more money than I ever will. That's
right.
I have a mortgage to worry about, Kenny. Okay. It's just,
and then you start getting all judgy with them. You're like, these are kids. They can keep going. Why are you guys?
I do get a little judgy sometimes. Like you're holding out for like $30 million. I just need $2 million. Okay. Yeah. Like what? Yeah.
Just let that stimmy check hit. Like, come on. Here we go. Let's just let that one come in.
Yeah.
Come on. There we are. But I did want to ask. I just want to bring it up about the Eagles. We started mentioning a little bit about the Eagles, and I'm getting so amped by the potential of what the Eagles could be about, because there's a lot of new news, if we put it. Philly Chelsea helped me uncover new news last year. It was like, if you're picking between a guy who you've seen for a couple of years and there's a new bag, a new mystery box, if you will, go with the new news. You just don't know what could be behind that door. And I'm looking at the Eagles right now, and there's a lot of new news over there that's got me pretty amped. Jalen Hurts was phenomenal to close the end of the year last season. We could get Rieger, who could come in as a big playmaking second-year wide receiver. They've got actually kind of talented other wide receivers over there too, whether it's Fulgham, or we'll see what they do in the free agency with Goddard as well, and Miles Sanders. A new coach over there as well. Like, could Philadelphia be a real mover and shaker in the NFL this season, or am I drinking that Kool-Aid Johnny was talking about earlier? Am I just getting too excited? But I'm pretty excited about the Eagles right now.
Well, it's interesting. Hurts gives them a ceiling that they probably did not have with Carson Wentz, just because of his rushing ability. But I hesitate to put too much. And I guess because the division is also kind of beat up, so you could say they could have a case to get in. But I hesitate to say that they would be too much of a mover and shaker, just because of all the problems they had last year, lack of weapons, the injury bug that they had, the offensive line issues, and those aren't things you maybe you could hit one or two of those things. You're usually not going to turn all of that around in one off season, but they definitely have a ceiling they didn't have last year. Jalen Hurts is the mystery box himself. He is the sneaky upside guy who was a top 10 play last year, and can he bring them to a new level that they didn't see since Wentz was an MVP type player?
Good take. I'm going to shift it over here to the comments. The football therapist talking about Crowder, who Stepmom Lauren picked up, says he's a sneaky pick. Do you guys think his value changes with a running quarterback if the Jets draft Justin Fields versus a passing quarterback like Zach Wilson? That's a really concern for me. Johnny, you and Travis done a really good breakdown on the impact mobile quarterbacks have on running backs and other pass-catching options. What's your take right now out of New York? Do you think they're, going to be looking at a quarterback, or is Sam Darnold their guy? And if they do make a move, how do you see that move impacting Jameson Crowder?
I would like them to say it was Sam Darnold, because there's, like I said, I believe what I've heard from insiders who have actually watched Sam Darnold play, and we know about the Adam Gase effect. I think that that's a real thing, so I want to see him actually get a chance. But at the same time, I can understand where the Jets are. They have an opportunity, and like you had said, the interesting thing, we did do a deep dive into the rushing quarterbacks and what that tends to, what we kind of think in our mind, what that draws up a conclusion to, and then what the reality is. And the reality is that, when a rushing quarterback, they are actually taking more opportunity away from the running back than they are from the wide receiver. And so in this case, I think that either one will be fine. Now, I am a huge Zach Wilson fan, and we've talked about Zach Wilson a couple times on this show. And so I personally think that if the Jets are going to go the quarterback route, they need to go with the Zach Wilson. And then which case, I'm really excited about Crowder either way, because here's the other side of the coin, and the reality of it is that Crowder is a 10th round guy. I don't care. I'm willing to gamble on a 10th rounder on those parameters of a rushing quarterback versus a stationary quarterback or whatever, because the risk is not that much, right? Whereas if you're telling me a 5th rounder or 4th rounder, then it's okay, I'll take more into account those situations. Whereas in a 10th or, a 9th and down, I'm saying, okay, what is the highest potential outcome that this get, and what are the likelihood that he could get there? Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, those are really good points, and I want to bring it back to Stepmom Lauren here, who did make the pick on Jameson Crowder. And New York has been a team, the Jets, that have gotten a little bit more conversation going. It's a big market. It is New York. It's the it's the Jets, but Gase is gone. It maybe is a little bit of a fixer-upper. We're talking about exciting draft picks, maybe in Zach Wilson. I know you had also talked last year, Stepmom Lauren, about Chris Herndon was one of your sleeper picks. And I only bring it up because he was my sleeper pick too, and I grabbed him in a lot of drafts. Yeah, I know. Me too. I'm right there with you.
Okay.
I know, and that wasn't meant to drag it through because I took him in the Whisper Nation League. I took him and I flexed about it too. I was like, oh, you suckers, you let him go to the 13th. Y'all are going to hate yourselves. And then it was me who hated myself. But I want to know what you think now this year about the New York Jets, the Adam Gase-less New York Jets, what your expectations are for them at the quarterback spot. Do they roll with Darnold? Do they take one of these exciting quarterbacks in the draft? And how does that impact your 10th round pick, Jameson Crowder, Stepmom Lauren?
I think it's going to be curious under Salah what they decide to do. Is it Salah or Salah? I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. All I know is that he is a beast. Everybody loves him. And I think that they are going to be sneaky good this year. I'm excited to see their growth this year, especially after walking backwards with Adam Gase. I despise that man as a head coach. It's awful. I mean, I don't know. I'm not him. I'm not his players. What do I know? All I know is that besides the Bears, it was one of the most boring offenses to watch on football. It was terrible. So they have to get better, in my opinion. Even despite that, Jameson Crowder still did well. So I think, although I have absolutely zero information to back this up whatsoever, I think that Salah is going to stick with Sam Darnold for a year. They will likely draft a rookie, but they are going to let him be on the sidelines until such a time that Sam Darnold proves he cannot stay the starter if that happens this year. So we'll see what kind of goes on. Either way, I'm not worried about Jameson Crowder, especially where I snagged him in the draft. So not worried. I am excited about their opportunity this year with a city and a team, I think, that desperately needs an injection of energy. And who knows more about energy than your girl right here?
That's 100% factual.
LaMichael Pirine, is he anything we should seriously consider in the New York Jets backfield, or is this just a dice roll to consider later on, or is this actually somebody who might have some impact to your team?
I think because of his value, absolutely. Why not? I mean, you're not, wasting these super high draft picks on a guy who could possibly be incredibly productive. So sure, as long as you're not sacrificing a piece or someone that you really, really want to go for because somebody else says that he might be a good sleeper pick. But yeah, I think it could be definitely a good option. They're a dark horse this year. I am really excited to see what the Jets do.
I think it too. Not a bad defense, some playmakers on offense. It really seems like Adam Gase. We talk about it every week of the Adam Gase effect. There's just so many players who've had
also the Jets
crazy resurgences. It's true.
Like, we can give a lot of credit to Gase. I'm not saying we can't, but they are also still the Jets. So I like the hire. I mean, deserves to be a head coach. I like the hire.
I would be surprised to pick up Richard Sherman too. I mean, it would fit very well for me. And when you have just a few pivotal, I'm going to take this. When you have just the culture, pivotal, absolutely changes in culture. It's amazing how things just flow differently because football players are people, they're humans. And I don't know for anyone listening right now, if you've played sports in a team setting, you understand just one tiny drop of a pin will change momentum and chemistry for your entire squad. And that can happen with one or two people, especially when there is good leadership. So I am very excited. I know I sound like a broken record here, but I'm really excited to see what kind of changes they continue to make. And I'm excited to see what their offense is going to look like and what their defense is going to look like. I think they're, like I said, a little bit of a dark horse.
I got goosebumps right now, Stepmom Lauren. I think that is such an important point that gets dismissed too often because we look at this all as a math problem. And we really don't.
There's people behind these. It's amazing.
100%. And people change, they develop, they can put their best foot forward one day and not put their best foot forward the next day. And that has a huge impact on the performances in these games when you stack them all up there. And just a couple of the names that come to mind, when Jim Harbaugh, we talked about John Harbaugh, but when Jim Harbaugh took over, who was the linebacking coach? I can't win with these guys.
Mike Singletary.
Mike Singletary. Thank you. I can't win with these guys. Talking Alex Smith, talking about Vernon Davis, and Jim
Can't
Harbaugh
win with him. Can't coach
with the exact same roster and flips that whole squad right around, and they're in the NFC Championship. You saw Sean McVay just do it in Los Angeles there with the worst coach of all time. It makes me so happy that I can't remember.
Look at the Buccaneers.
Yeah. Well,
Buccaneers. Jeff Fisher. Thank you. Buccaneers. Look what happened. One player switched around.
I was watching it was on Barstool Sports, but they had TJ Hawkinson on, and they were talking about and George Kittle was also on the show, and George Kittle brought up, oh, Dan Campbell, he's he had that awesome or that crazy press conference, and even TJ Hawkins was like, yeah, I love it. Like, I think his energy is awesome. I met with the guy, and they're like, you don't think he's like a little like wild and out there? He's like, not at all. Like, he is awesome, and we are going to love playing him. All the things that we've had, the few meetings that they had, great. Their energy. We're all excited here in Detroit, and I was like, dude, that's cool. Like, when you have players like that, and that energy is in places, and sometimes guys just have it. And it seems a little weird in the beginning because we're like, I don't know if this is going to work out, but then they just extra fast.
My husband is a huge Detroit Lions fan. I mean, so when Dan Campbell was hired and he had the press conference, even my husband was like, this dude is awesome. But like, I really find it difficult, like juxtaposing, actually, maybe that is the exact right word for it, with like super mild mannered, even keeled Jared Goff with like, I'm going to bite your kneecaps off. Like,
yeah, he might need that though.
I don't see that gelling because like this could be Jared Goff is like, yeah, I'm going to bite some kneecaps off. That'd be great. Like I can't. He's not the quarterback for Detroit. Anyway, that's just my own little personal thing. But a
lot of people respond to different points, right?
Yeah.
Like that was Coach Lombardi's big thing. Like you just need to know which players respond to what different forms of encouragement, and that's the mark of a real great coach.
I feel like he would respond to like afternoon high tea at the Ritz-Carlton, like talking about philosophy that he sort of studied once in college. Like that's the kind of thing I see Jared Goff doing, not being like scrambling around in the dirt, like with, missing teeth and a hockey player. Like, and I'm not saying that like having high tea at the Ritz-Carlton is a bad thing. My mom used to take me all the time when I was 12, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. But it just doesn't seem like it's a personality meld. But who knows? Maybe the Jared Goff that he shows in press conferences is actually like, super freaky behind scenes. I don't know. But it just didn't seem like when I heard that trade, I thought my friend was kidding. I was like, that's funny. That's funny. And then it's like, da-na-na, da-na-na. I look at my phone and I'm like, no.
You just made me so excited for this dynamic. I can't wait to watch and see what does transpire now in Detroit with these two personalities.
It's not even like just those two personalities, right? It's the city of Detroit and Jared Goff's personality too, right? Like you're going to take this guy who went to Cal, who has a golf course in his backyard in his LA home, who didn't know where the sun set, didn't know what side of the earth the sun set right.
Oh,
and then Detroit is, you're going to be Detroit, Rock City, Motor City. I
know cars. What do you do? He's like, I don't know how to install a light fixture. I don't know.
Exactly.
Jared Goff definitely has a Tesla. So
does he really?
I'm not saying any.
I want
well, if you go to Detroit, it's D-town, baby. That's American muscle.
He's got some hybrids. They're bringing everything though over to the electric.
Yeah, they're getting.
They're going to push hybrids.
Yeah, by 2030, it's going to be
2035, right?
It's a thing.
It's moving. So
Detroit is very gritty. And I'm not saying that Jared Goff isn't tough. He is a tough player. He's a tough quarterback, but he's one of those like strong and silent types. I feel like more philosophical than he is like biting kneecaps off. Like it's just not. I don't put him in Dan Campbell's way of thinking about the game in the same. But who knows? Opposites attract. So this could be one of the most perfect things.
Maybe it's one of those.
It does feel like an introvert.
They can go up.
I thought maybe we were doing like a Tri-Delta cheer from sorority.
Are you a Tri-Delta?
No, I didn't rush. Are you kidding me? I would have died if I was in a sorority.
I don't know. Yeah, you just ruled it.
Catholic all-girls school for 12 years. No, give me.
You just ruled it, and you would have just overseen and won all of the Derby days.
Yeah,
you would have dominated.
Yeah.
As we will see how the domination in this mock draft has occurred here. We are coming to the end of our 13-round full point PPR mock draft here with Whisper Nation. Want to give a shout out to everybody.
On accident. Oops, my bad.
Everybody in the chat here who's joined us, man, it has been awesome to draft alongside you. If you haven't liked and subscribed yet, what the heck are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button. It allows our channel to grow, reach more voices, bring more people into the fold, answer more questions, and we love to do it. It is legitimately our favorite thing in the world to get together with folks and talk about fantasy football. So join the party, hit the thumbs up button. And not just for us, make sure you're following Stepmom Lauren as well. You can jump to the bottom of this episode's description. We've got all the information there, as well as the bottom of our YouTube channel. Stepmom Lauren, partner with us. We've got all of her information down at the bottom, but she'll be able to share it with you where they can catch everybody. We're coming to the end of this one. I want to give her a second to plug her stuff here before we jump into our infamous draft grades. Stepmom Lauren, you want to tell the folks where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, football's coming again. Draft, offseason, everybody. You can find my work on the Fantasy Footballers, Fantasy Pros, NBC Sports Edge, which is formerly Roto World. So make sure you refollow NBC Sports Edge if you were following Roto World before. I just figured that out because I've been on vacation for a while and apparently I'm late to the show. But I know it's going to be great. All of my work is on my website, stepmomlauren.com. Follow me on social media at stepmomlauren.
There it is. There you have it. Johnny Game Time Hicks, he is making his last selection of the draft. It's Nelson Aguilar. There we go. It's a pretty nice pick to close it out. Johnny, you drafted last. You want to give us the first breakdown here?
Sure, definitely. Oh, I do want to say thank you real quick to Darius Rice. He asked me or wished me a happy belated birthday. And I do want to say thank you to all of Whisper Nation who reached out to me and wished me a happy birthday. I really appreciate it. It was a very humbling experience for me. So thank you so much.
You're only 21 once, Johnny.
I know, right?
Give it up, man.
I didn't his age. I was like, shut up. I'm way older than you. So
you're right. So I came to the 112 spot. I took, Aaron Jones at the 112. He fell to me. We know where he's going now. We like the situation. Finished as a top 6 fantasy back the last 2 years. Give me that all day. I took DeAndre Hopkins in the second round. I generally like to go either wide receiver, or running back when I am in this spot. So I thought I'd switch it up this time and just try to see if I can make an even team and go down and just see how that panned out. And I actually think it turned out pretty well. So I grabbed DeAndre Hopkins. And the third, I grabbed Allen Robinson and David Montgomery. Now I'm realizing I have both a wide receiver and a running back from the same team. So this is fun. Kyler Murray in the 5th. Ronald Jones in the 6th, who I think is a tremendous value. Will Fuller in the 7th. Chase Edmonds in the 8th. Michael Carter in the 9th. Michael Gallup in the 10th. Then I took a couple of tight ends here, Evan Ingram and Mike Gesicki, which I was really surprised on Evan Ingram, falling all the way to the 11th round, and then Nelson Aguilar to close it out. We'll see where he lands, but there are rumors they want him back in Vegas, and he had a nice breakout season. To get him late is nice. There were a couple of picks I would have really liked to have back. Like I said, the Michael Gallup, I would rather take Laviska Shenault now, and what was the other one that I really liked? Oh, the Ronald Jones. I do like the Ronald Jones pick where I got him. However, that 6th round is very, very nice. Just looking at all the value there. There are a lot of players that I like Deontay Johnson, OBJ, Brandon Ayuk, Cortland Sutton. I think all those guys are really good values there.
Circling back really quick on your comment just there about Deontay Johnson, Cas Pajamas a little bit ago said, if Juju signs elsewhere, I'm all in on Deontay Johnson. How about you guys?
I'm all in on Deontay Johnson no matter what.
Regardless. Yeah.
Yep.
Big fans of Deontay Johnson over here. Johnny, I think this is a really solid draft. If you just take it from the startable positions, you're starting running backs Aaron Jones and David Montgomery. Nice, with some really solid depth behind him. Starting wide receivers, if you got 3, Hopkins, Allen Robinson, and Fuller after that suspension, that's even nice. That's nice. Kyler Murray is your starting quarterback. No issues there. Ingram and Gesicki, you got good depth, good upside play there. I got nothing really negative.
Evan Ingram is this is such a great value just based on his ceiling alone.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's going to be one of those guys. If we can get him to stay there ADP wise, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be a favorite to try and draft for upside just based on the athletic tight end build that he has. I don't want him to turn into a Jordan Reed, but he has spent the last couple of years trying to be Jordan Reed. So hopefully he can hit the ceiling that Jordan Reed was never able to. But I love Ingram.
You're getting him so late here.
You're doing it wrong. Evan Ingram sucks, so he should go further.
Oh,
no,
wow.
That's how you keep him low, not hyping him up. Being like, I hope he's true. Being like, he's worse than that. Garbage. I say.
Yeah.
Well, not all of us have the Twitter power you've got over there, Stepmom Lauren. I can't control ADP like you can. I can only just say what I say.
Yeah.
It'd be super nice if I could, though. Oh, I would mess with the world. It'd be fabulous.
The Stepmom Lauren bump or the Stepmom Lauren push down.
Yeah.
It's real. It's real.
It happens.
And let's find out who now is going to be a part of the Stepmom Lauren push up or push down here. Hit us what you got. Tell us about your draft, Stepmom.
All right. Like I said earlier, Alvin Kamara was a no-brainer first round for me. I would take him at the 101. I understand people are a little concerned with Drew Brees being gone. I get it. I'm not. I love him, especially in a PPR format. Give me Alvin Kamara all day long. I love Austin Eckler to round out my 2 starting running backs. Love it, love it, love it. Especially, again, we're talking PPR. Mike Evans, take it all day long. Mark Andrews, I'll take it all day long. I couldn't believe Chris Carson was still available, so I snagged him too for the consistency that I need. I mean, Chris Carson, like you said before, Austin, I think is really underrated. So I really like that. DJ Chark, because we were talking about him and I love him so much. I just wanted to make Johnny mad. So I went ahead and took DJ Chark. I'm under him.
And you did.
Trying to do a reverse psychology thing and take him right after me. Russell Wilson, I thought was a little early. Like I said, it was kind of paying attention to more talking than I was drafting, but I'm okay with Russell Wilson here. I usually subscribe to a little bit later on the quarterback. For example, the Matthew Staffords, the Ryan Tannehills, those you can wait super late in a redraft, unless you're talking about a 2 QB league or a super flex, though then that's not the same. So just so everyone's aware, if maybe you're not familiar with that. I really liked where I snagged some wide receivers. I would like to redo my T.Y. Hilton pick because I completely forgot that he's not even with the Colts anymore. Again, more talking, less paying attention. But Jarvis Landry, Jameson Crowder, and Darius Slayton. 3 awesome options that I have there at wide receiver 3, which I really like. I also couldn't decide between Darius Slayton or Sterling Shepard. So I ended up getting both of them because I auto-picked my last one. I don't mind that. Because if one of them is going to go down, I'd much rather have his backup. And when it's that late in a draft, it's okay if something like that happens. I'm really all right with that. And then I'm going to have pieces that I can trade. Now, a lot of people are going to be looking at me like, what are you talking about, Marlon Mack, Stepmom Lauren? That's absolutely ridiculous. If he gets traded, I want every single piece of Marlon Mack that I can. If he stays in the Colts, okay, not awesome with Jonathan Taylor there. But at the same time, he's going to be my insurance policy. So why not? And it's in the 12th round? Yeah.
There we go.
Gimme.
Love the upside here. This is like insane upside with Kamara, Eckler, your running backs, Evans, DJ Chark, Jarvis Landry, just all through the roof there.
I do like this team.
Andrew's huge upside too.
Export this into all my future leagues coming up. I think I have like 15. So I'm just going to save this and export it and then win next year.
This is a fun one. I like it. So I love all the conversation too, working through all these pieces. This is making my drafting better from what you did on this one. So
I bet you say that's all the Stepmom Lauren's.
That's John. You want it, or Big Travie? I think you went at the 1-1 spot now. You want to
breakdown on yours? Which I think is one of the hardest places to draft from. By the way,
I experienced a little bit of that in this one for sure. I had a good run of weeks that I was drafting pretty well. This is not one of my favorites over the last couple of weeks.
Pressure got to you. Pressure got to you.
I wouldn't go that far. No, I mean it's not about the pressure. CEH was my second pick. I really like the bounce back projection for CEH. I think another year in the offense, that particular quarterback. I know Johnny wants to talk about Damian Williams being signed back and all these things that could happen with that. But I think CEH is the guy they want him to be. He just had a rough rookie year, and that happens. Michael Thomas, Adam Thielen, I thought these were 2 value picks. Michael Thomas at the beginning of the 3rd. Like, I could not believe he was sitting there in PPR. I love that. And then Adam Thielen. And then I went Josh Allen. I didn't think I would get Josh Allen since I would have to take him here because of the turn situation. So, to Stepmom Lauren's point, when you draft at these ends, a lot of the times you're going to have to reach on a guy that maybe you could get, at his value if you were in other spots in the league or in the draft because you're waiting 24 picks in this case till your next pick. So, but I love Devontae Parker in the 6th. Johnny mentioned all the value in the 6th. I thought he was one of those guys that was huge value in the 6th. Devontae Parker with a fully healthy year can do some big things. He's put some good stuff on tape. Javonte Williams is one of my favorite rookies just based on tape alone. Obviously, we don't know landing spot, but we've talked about this on the show. He reminds me of Kamara light. He's very good at balance and breaking tackles and set an ACC record, as Snap Fantasy Podcast let us know a couple weeks ago, for broken tackles. So we like that. Julian Edelman, huge value just based on what happened last year with Cam and his age and the health. But Julian Edelman is consistently a PPR machine if he's on the field. So I will take the value of taking him there in the 8th. Gronk, Marquis Brown, just going for some upside. I actually wish I could have the Gronk pick back, but I think another year in with this football back body under him, he's going to score touchdowns. I think he'll be fine there in the 9th. Marquis Brown, just upside purely alone. I think we talked about how DJ Shark could actually help Marquis Brown as an upside wide receiver. Tariq Cohen, I think he's getting slept on if he comes back healthy, especially in PPR. They're going to mix him in. He's a talent. And then Logan Thomas, actually, I got to give a shout out to Jay Blizzy because I was waiting for Robert Tonyan here. Like that was going to be my pick.
That is my favorite pick of your entire draft is that where you got Logan Thomas. I am so jealous because I love him.
I would take all the credit, but Jay Blizzy, our Whisper Nation champion, was like, hey, just take Logan Thomas now since I couldn't get Tonyan. So I took him because I obviously didn't. He looked kind of buried there. But Logan Thomas, yeah, super value. I mean, that guy got it done, and it didn't matter who the quarterback was. So, and then Henry Ruggs. I think people are also sleeping on Henry Ruggs, just lack of volume last year, lack of opportunities. This guy is still a first-round pick that they're going to want to get the ball to.
First wide receiver taken.
Yes, and fastest wide receiver in the draft. Yeah. So they want to use him, and we've seen it before. I think they want to get him going. So, yeah, I mean, I think all in all, I liked my team. It just wasn't I didn't hit home runs every pick like I had been doing the last couple of weeks, but I think it's pretty good.
Oh, just real quick, the football therapist, good point. I misspoke earlier about Marlon Mack. He's a free agent. So no need to sign. Yep. Bad. Thank you. Actually, I just got done talking about him last week on a free agency. So you'd think I would remember this, but no.
He could, and I love that spot too because he's still young-ish. He's got a year off. If he did recover and comes into a team that could use him, he could actually be a very running back coming in. Right. As you said, Stepmom Lauren, where you picked him up, like that's a great dart throw here. And Travi, to round out yours, I love the Henry Ruggs pick. We've been asking a lot of folks who their sophomore wide receiver pick is. Very few, actually nobody, has mentioned Henry Ruggs, but I think that might be a little bit of a mistake, at least as a late flyer. As you said, fastest wide receiver in the draft last year. He was the first wide receiver taken off the board in the actual NFL draft, and he did show some flashes. He just didn't really have a ton of opportunity. Maybe that's because he wasn't creating the opportunity. Maybe it's because the Raiders and John Gruden and Derek Carr don't really know what they're about yet. But nonetheless, great late round flyer again for somebody who can take the top off and score a touchdown on any single play. So I'd like to see that.
Show Austin taking their tops off. What?
This ain't your dad's fantasy football show.
As I'm drinking.
As we go. So let's go ahead now and go. We went backwards, doing our breakdowns. Let's go forwards now. Big Travi, you just want to keep the momentum rolling here and pick up the news, and then we'll get Stepmom Lauren to pick up Captain Bob's. Johnny can grab Jay Blizzy. I'll grab Reed Tyler, and then we can start it over with Travis to start off for Mark.
Yeah, the news with going the all-sophomore team, but it actually doesn't look as bad as it could. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Herbert, all sophomore. Jalen Reagor, all sophomores here. So, but I love the talent here. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is ballooning up draft boards, at least that we've done. You know, he started as the end of the first. Now he's going inside the top 5. So we will see if the Wentz ADP shift is going to keep him in the top 5 or what will happen there. But I love it. DeAndre Swift, Johnny shared some blurb and puff pieces on DeAndre Swift this weekend about, Deuce Staley saying this is a guy that, is an all-around back, can be on the field all the time. So I love that. Justin Jefferson, look at this trio of wide receivers is so dangerous. Both ways. It's dangerous and upside wise, but then if these guys take a step back, you're going to be with a wide receiving core that's going to be a little bit dangerous there too. But Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, and CeeDee Lamb, all studs. I'm excited to see what happens here. I think that this team, he continued on. TJ Hawkinson's a great pick here. Zach Moss, I thought, was a great value on the 11th. Could he be a better running back next year, which I think he can be. And then Justin Herbert in the 9th, I think is a fine spot to take him. I would personally probably take a Rodgers over Justin Herbert, but I don't mind the pick here. And I love that. I love what Herbert put on tape last year. But what I was going to get at is I think this is a B minus. I think this easily could be an A team. It could definitely just dominate, but I think that it could also, the bottom could fall out a little bit here, just based on these guys are very young and they have not put a lot of tape out. So we really don't know if their great years last year are exactly what they're going to be. But I think it belongs in the B category just based on build and what we saw last year.
Yeah, volatile on both sides of it. It's going to be a fun one to watch, see how it progresses. We're going to go ahead and jump in and let Stepmom Lauren take the next one. She is going to have to run on this one. So she's going to go ahead and break down Captain Bob's, give us our final goodbyes, and then we'll take the rest of it over from there.
Well, listen, Captain Bob, I want your team is basically what I'm throwing out there. So he's got a couple people that I love here, except for one player who's garbage. Joe Mixon. Yuck. Hate him. Anyway, AJ Brown, I love. Robert Woods, I absolutely love. And you have Terry McLaurin, and you have Brandon Ayuk. Those are like 4 of my favorite players in the NFL. So that by itself has already earned you an A grade in my book. Deshaun Watson, I think, is a little bit early on QB again, but I am a wait on QB kind of girl, and I'm also not sure where Deshaun Watson is going to be or what he's going to be doing this year. I'm a little off on him that high, but I understand that if you do believe in him, that's where he's going. So if you're willing to pay that price and pay up for him, then go for it. You have Alexander Madison here that you got in the 8th round, and your starters are Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon. I don't hate that, because you have your insurance policy just set up and ready to go, which if you're a Dalvin Cook manager, making sure you have Alexander Madison on your team is usually the thing to do. And you waited all the way into the 8th, which I think was a pretty good move on your part too. James White, I love in PPR. We'll see what happens in New England, which is like a hot mess. Who knew we would ever say that ever in a million years, that New England is a hot mess, but there it is. Christian Kirk, I also do love. And sleeper alert that I keep forgetting about is Irv Smith. There's no Kyle Rudolph anymore. So I love this super duper late pick at your TE. I think it's pretty fantastic. All in all, I think I'm going to give this an A minus because I love your wide receiver so much. And I think you did. I think that play with your Irv Smith really, really late was super sneaky and I loved it. A minus for me.
All right.
Bob. Well done, Bob.
Stepmom Lauren, thank you so much for joining Whisper Nation here. It's been great to draft alongside of you, as it always is. Mock Draft Marathon, Mock Draft Mondays, whatever it might be. You can catch Stepmom Lauren's channels at the bottom of the description in this channel, as well as at the bottom of our fantasy page on YouTube. Stepmom Lauren, it's great to have you. Any closing thoughts, anything you want to share before you go?
No, thank you guys so much for having me. It's a pleasure. This is my first mock draft of 2021.
Boom.
My very
That's how we roll.
Getting the gears back. I had to put some oil in it in here and what kind of squeaky there for a minute, but it was fun. I love doing these. So, and good luck everybody this summer. Come find me if you have any questions. Come read my work. Come talk to me. I don't really mean to sound very desperate right now, being like I need friends, but I like friends and I really like to talk about fantasy football. So come say hi, Stepmom Lauren.
Please do it, guys. If you ask us a question, we just ask her the question and then regurgitate her answer back to you. So you can just cut the middleman out here, hit up Stepmom Lauren yourself, do everyone a favor here.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so
By
much.
the way, Matt, who you're listening, your YouTube avatar, go St. Louis Blues. Let's go.
Oh, yeah. He was
there
mad
it is.
because he said I was a Lamar
I have
hater.
a little Stanley Cup replica right here in the back. So go STL. Where'd you go to high school? Comment below and they'll tell me. I went to Viz.
Yeah. All right. That was awesome having Stepmom Lauren on.
Always is, right?
It is.
Very fortunate. Jay Blizz, we've got our Whisper Nation listener champion who does what he does. Johnny, you want to take it over here?
Sure. He took Saquon Barkley at the 104. Saquon's going to be the big question mark as to where he goes all year up until your draft. He'll be kind of a question mark as to whether that knee will take him. Takes him at the 104. Don't mind it. Cam Akers in the 2nd, J.K. Dobbins in the 3rd to kind of shore up that running back room there. Took Kenny G, Cooper Kupp, Cortland Sutton as those middle tier wide receivers. I really do like Kenny G and Cortland Sutton, especially depending on where Kenny G goes. We have to remember what this guy was like when he was healthy, and he is a dominant wide receiver. So I like the trio of wide receivers he's got there. He took Dak Prescott in the 7th, Kyle Pitts in the 8th. I'm not a big fan of taking Kyle Pitts this early, and I'll break that down in just a second. Why I think that Deebo Samuel in the 9th, I really like that pick. Tom Brady in the 10th, that's a good quarterback spot. Kenneth Gainwell in the 11th, Robert Tonyan in the 12th. I like that pick as well for a tight end, and J.D. McKissick to close it out. You took Kyle Pitts with the 809. I like the Robert Tonyan pick at the tight end, but with Kyle Pitts, he is a rookie tight end, and I know that I've watched some of his tape. I'll dive even more into it, but it is generally known it has taken a while for all of these tight ends. I don't care how good you are. I mean, look at T.J. Hawkinson, who should be that next.
Kittle.
Yeah, I mean, look at Kittle.
If you just look at, I think and I'll have to look this up. I mean, it could be off the hip, but just to make your point even more clear here, Johnny, it's like the yardage for rookie tight ends is super low. I think it's around 500, the record. So like they're not going to do a lot in their first year, no matter how good they are.
Yeah, and exactly. And like you're saying 500 yards, and we know how skilled some of these tight ends have been, and for them to not get that now. Anything is possible. I just don't see it for Kyle Pitts. So I'll be passing on Kyle Pitts a lot because that's where he's probably going to go. I think that Jay Blizzy took him at the spot he's probably going to need him to. If you really are a believer in Kyle Pitts, I just would have went probably in like another running back position. Alexander Madison, maybe I even like Zach Moss that went a couple of rounds later, just to shore up your running backs there. But overall, I would give this a B+.
I like that one too. Go ahead, Trevor.
I like this team. I think it's pretty solid. I probably would be about a B+ as well. Just the wide receiver depth in a league where you're starting 3 wide receivers isn't really there, but the starting wide receivers I really like a lot. So
yeah, right. Like Kenny Golladay, Cooper Kupp, Cortland Sutton. We know all 3 of those have question marks, which is why he didn't take one until the 4th round. But he went with guys who all have a pathway towards wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 production, and he's got a very confident, stable running backs there. That's 3rd. That's pretty nice. And then Dak Prescott, we know it's a little bit of a risk, but you got him there in the 7th. I like the upside on this one. I agree with the Kyle Pitts comments too. But Jay Blizzy does what he does. Looking forward to drafting with him for reals again, coming up later in August, and keep getting better.
Got to get that championship back from him.
Yeah, that's right. Reed Tyler here in the 5th. I will take this one over. He took Devontae Adams, first wide receiver off the board, and Patrick Mahomes there in the 2nd. So mini upside down, if you will. Miles Sanders is his starting running back number 1. Took him in the 3rd. Chris Godwin is the 2nd wide receiver. A couple of other running backs here in Kenyon Drake and James Conner, followed by Tyler Boyd, Michael Pittman. His tight end to start is at least Hunter Henry, Marvin Jones, Tevin Coleman, Jonnu Smith, Cole Beasley. Patrick Mahomes and Devontae Adams alone are going to win you a lot of games, and I think you probably make the playoffs because of that top, but I don't think you have a threatening team or one that's poised to go far. If I look at who your starting running backs are, Miles Sanders and Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders and James Conner. Miles Sanders very well could be a part of a timeshare this year. We got a new coach. We got a whole off season ahead. We don't yet know what Miles Sanders' role will be. I think he's probably a good safe pick, and I like it there in the 3rd. But then as your 2nd running back would be Drake or Connor. Both of those guys might not be starting running backs. Love Devontae Adams, but Chris Godwin as your number 2. I'm just not over the moon about a guy here who is the number 2 wide receiver. Mike Evans is still over there. I would have preferred to see Keenan Allen. There wasn't a ton of stuff ahead, and if Chris Godwin is your boy, I get it. So I won't hold that one too far against you. But then Tyler Boyd or Michael Pittman, it's just a little bit of an underwhelming squad. The upside really comes from Devontae Adams and Patrick Mahomes, and there's not a lot of other big upside players the rest of the way down. So the floor is all right. I think you do make the playoffs, but I think this is a team that most folks are comfortable playing with, and then they lose that week to you, and they're like, how did I lose to Reed Tyler this week? It's like, well, because he scored more points than you with his 97 points every week. So I give it like a B. It's a comfortable B, maybe a little bit on the B-, but just because of
it's like you want to give it a C, but like with the top heaviness, I don't think you can. I don't think you're capable. And not that I want to give it like Reed. We love you, Reed Tyler, but just based on what you think could happen with this, because it's not the safest way to draft. But I think
6th round. That fifth, sixth round gave me a little bit of a concern there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, be 80, like an 83, 84.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's you, Big Travie here, taking on Mark.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't jump in there. Mark Shoe 27 was new. I just want to give him a shout out. New this week. He told everybody in the sleeper lounge that they can friend him if they'd like. He'll join any mock, so we're glad to have you. He started with Tyreek Hill, then went Antonio Gibson, Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, Melvin Gordon, OBJ. Up until the 7th when he took David Johnson, I really loved this team. I think this build was done really nice round to round. Went upside with Tyreek Hill and Gibson, but then followed it up with more upside in Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper. And then I thought Melvin Gordon is just a steal in the 5th round. I thought about him over there at the beginning of the 5th, and I thought this was a great pickup, especially when you're going to go and take a chance that Gibson is going to be who he put on tape. Then you've got a guy like Melvin Gordon who's going to give you 13 points a game. He's going to give you that. He's going to do the dirty work for your squad. And so I think that's great. Me and Johnny were sharing some clips back and forth of OBJ's rehab process, how good he looks running right now. So I love that OBJ pick, especially the value. If we thought we were getting OBJ at a value last year, you're getting him at even more of a value this year after the injury, which is really great to see. And Austin, you astutely talked about him maybe looking from the outside in and being able to learn that he was, needed to be playing team ball there. And that could actually benefit him in fantasy as well. So I think this team's well put together. Jalen Hurts is a nice late round QB with huge upside. Brandon Cooks is probably going to be the only guy over there, like Ryan Weiss was talking about last week. Nyheim Hines in a PPR, great pick in the 10th round. Dallas Goedert, I would like to see you take one more tight end, but I love Dallas Goedert as your tight end here, just huge upside. This to me, guys, I'm having trouble finding a hole. I guess you'd say running back depth. So for that reason, I would say, B minus, B. I'm going to give him a B. I think this is a good squad.
I'd even push a little higher. I like it a little bit even more. The running back depth is there, and maybe if he had another quarterback, I love Jalen Hurts. And I think that's fine. But if he did have like a Matt Stafford or a Joe Burrow, even somebody.
This trio of wide receivers is nasty in a PPR. That
upside and the floor is good.
Yeah. It's just I'm actually gonna switch. I think it's a B plus for sure.
And I like Melvin Gordon more this year than I did last year. I think Melvin Gordon's actually going to have a good year coming up. I think that's
especially with
strong RB2.
Especially not having that 3-game suspension now because he got his sentence reduced. I think see Melvin Gordon to go up in drafts, but I like the value got him.
I'll go ahead and take Jacob Bley. Oh no, that's you, Johnny. You're next.
Okay, I'll take Jacob Bley. Derrick Henry he's Jacob Bley, #1 fan. Took Derrick Henry in the 1st. James Robinson in the 2nd, George Kittle in the 3rd, then DJ Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyler Lockett, and Devontae Smith in the 7th. Then you grabbed Darrell Henderson, grabbed Aaron Rodgers in the 9th as his quarterback, has Tony Pollard, A.J. Dillon in the 10th and the 11th, Matthew Stafford in the 12th, and then Mecole Hardman in the 13th. A.J. Dillon is going to be an interesting piece now. We were for so long drafting him thinking he was a tremendous value, and now it'll be interesting to see what that split is. I think this team is very, very solid. I think I would go with a B plus with this. I have a couple of question marks. Every team has question marks. So obviously I'm wondering what they're going to do with the James Robinson fan. I think we made our voices pretty clear that we think James Robinson will be the guy next year. Some things came out that they might try drafting a running back. So we'll have to kind of wait and see with that pick. But as of right now, I really like this team. I think, having Tyler Lockett or wide receiver 3 is acceptable because now you're able to swing for that upside or have that upside in for Tyler Lockett. And if it doesn't pan out, you have James Juju in a PPR point where that'll get you enough points from those. But I would put this at a B plus.
I might have it a little lower than a B plus. But I think this is one of those teams, like, it's not its best form week 1. I expect this team to be its best form, like, middle of the season, And if he, God forbid something happens to Cam Akers, Ezekiel Elliott, or Aaron Jones, but if something does, he's got some banging handcuffs to then get a RB1 that emerges. My pause comes from the wide receiver upside. I love the DJ Moore, but then Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyler Lockett to me are both kind of in that unsexy lower ceiling situation right now. But I think this is a really solid team. I think the floor is really, really high for Jacob Bley's squad. I think he's in the playoffs. I think he beats a lot of teams. And I think he has the ability to improve his squad throughout the year.
I think this is one of those teams where like we're going to rip apart on draft day maybe, or just not rip apart, but like not like on draft day, but like wins the championship and you're not surprised because like they're just the gritty team.
Yeah. Easy daddy for me. He starts off with the 1-9, going Nick Chubb, followed by Travis Kelce, Julio Jones, and Jamar Chase. Okay, Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert in the 5th and 6th. Chase Claypool. Trevor Lawrence is the starting quarterback. He's going for some fun rookie plays here. Darnell Mooney, Chuba Hubbard, Corey Davis, Carson Wentz, and Adam Troutman there. Tight end to close out the 13th. This is back up with Kelce. So if I look at his starting running backs, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. I love that he got the handcuff there. We've talked about this extensively. Kareem Hunt, you can play with or without Nick Chubb active. And then if one of them goes down, you've got they each take a little bit of a bump. Maybe not Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is doing his thing no matter what. But I don't hate that stack at all. And then Raheem Mostert, if he is healthy, he is the starting running back. He's got mad physicals. People sleep on what Raheem Mostert is about. But if he does maintain that starting role, that's a very, very good pick. Chase Claypool is going to be in his sophomore season. We saw a lot of explosive playmaking ability out of him, especially in the end zone. Juju Smith-Schuster being gone, you expect will help that with some vacated targets. Trevor Lawrence is an exciting pick, but I'm still not excited. I don't need a starting quarterback to be a rookie. I'd rather take Matt Stafford. I'd rather take a Ryan Tannehill. I'd rather take an Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, all guys who went a round or 2 or 3 or 4 later, but it's sexy and we're in a mock draft, so have at it. Darnell Mooney could be I like that sleeper pick. I think he's going to do well. I think it's a nice bump up. Corey Davis, we talked a lot about him last week too with Ryan. Don't hate it, but I just don't think you're going to actually love the pick. I don't think he's going to be as an explosive sleeper pick as we might hope. Same thing with Carson Wentz. So when I look at the starting running backs, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Mostert, not starting wide receivers, Julio Jones, Chase Claypool, Jamar Chase got a rookie. It starts to skid a little bit. Best tight end in the game, but then the quarterback, you're a little concerned about that too. I love the tight end and I like the running backs, but I'm a little concerned about everywhere on the rest. I think I'm going to go B- actually for this one. Not surprised to see if it works out, but you just need a lot from your quarterbacking position, and I'm not stoked on a rookie or Carson Wentz right now. And then the wide receiver gives me some pause as well. When you got 3 wide receivers, you got to start.
Yeah, I don't have much to offer otherwise. I agree with that grade. I mean, I just think you could have done a little bit more to make up for the top heaviness of it, and and then a big place to do that is at QB, and you weren't able to kind of make that up there.
Really like this top. All right, big Travis.
Therapist. All right, we'll go FB therapist. I'm in here. Ezekiel Elliott, then Stephon Diggs, followed by Najee Harris. As Austin was saying, that's the first rookie off the board in this draft. Darren Waller, Myles Gaskin. Looking better for him to remain the guy with Aaron Jones signing with the Packers there. So we'll see what they do in the draft, though, as well. Deontay Johnson, Jerry Jeudy, Damian Harris, I thought is a sneaky pick in the 8th round to bring back some real value there. Robbie Anderson, we talked about with Ryan Weiss last week. Johnny's favorite pick of the draft here, Laviska Shenault in the 10th. Ryan Tannehill, Gus Edwards, Joe Burrow. I love this team. Like this to me, obviously, there's a little bit of questions at running back, but I think Zeke is a value. I think the more we talk about it now, I think Zeke is going to be a value with Dak Prescott back. I think he's going to be a guy that we're going to actually like what happens at the end of this year. He's going to kind of regain a little bit of form. Stephon Diggs, Deontay Johnson, Jerry Jeudy, and then the depth at wide receiver after that, I think helps him a lot. Darren Waller is going to give him a positional advantage, especially in PPR a lot of weeks. And then Myles Gaskin was really, really good when he was on the field. They gave him the ball and he did good things and he was very underrated. So could get a shot back there. I'd say the running backs aren't as sexy as you'd like. Especially in a PPR. Najee Harris and Zeke kind of are the traditional running back, but I think it's okay because he makes up for it in other areas. And I love the Tannehill pick, great value, and then the upside of Joe Burrow even too late. I think probably B, right around the B area. Could shoot for B plus, but the running back situation, the depth kind of shoots him a little bit lower for that.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson and Jerry Jeudy show up, especially that takes this team a really scary one.
For sure.
All right, I will close it out with BroCal38 drafting at the 11th spot. Took DK in the first round, Josh Jacobs in the second, Lamar Jackson in the third, Keenan Allen in the fourth. I like those first 4 rounds a lot, but then he grabs Todd Gurley and then Leonard Fournette in the 5th and 6th. Is Todd Gurley even going to play football this year? I'm not sure if he will. That'll be interesting. Yeah, wait and see. Jalen Waddle at the 7th spot, Devin Singletary in the 8th, Tylan Wallace in the 9th round, then took a trio of tight ends, Noah Fant, Tyler Higbee, Zach Wilson, and then took Sam Ellinger in the 13th round. BroCal38.
Be nice.
I know. I
Oh, I'm so glad he had the pregnant pause there because Austin had an opportunity to tell you to be nice because you were setting yourself up for some damage on BroCal.
No, I wasn't. No, I was gonna say, I appreciate you drafting with us.
Okay. We do.
But I do think that this team would struggle in the regular season. I don't know where the upside plays are, right? Like there's no upside in Todd Gurley to me. Leonard Fournette, now that could be interesting
after
depending
the 4th.
on but yeah, after the 4th, like I have a lot of questions, and generally like the questions aren't upside questions. Like they're not good questions because I'm wondering where the upside is. That's the only problem. Do I think that you'll be able to win games? Certainly. Lamar Jackson, DK and Keenan Allen would be able to do that for you. But I think overall it might struggle a little bit. I do like what you did at the end here with grabbing the 3 tight ends, Noah Fant, Tyler Higbee, and Zach Ertz. I'm not a big fan of Zach Ertz. I don't think he has any left in the tank, but I do like the idea of grabbing 3 tight ends or 2 tight ends and taking a dart throw. And I think Noah Fant and Tyler Higbee are 2 tight ends that I am intrigued by this year. So overall, I would probably give you a C+.
Yeah, I gotta concur with that one. But we're glad you joined. We're very glad you
absolutely
joined.
glad you
keep
joined.
sticking with us on this one. I really do like the first 4 picks. I think there's really high upside in those. Todd Gurley is 26 years old. That sucks.
What?
He's 26.
Wow.
Yeah. Raheem Mostert's 28.
In running back years, we've got him at like 50 just because.
Yeah, seriously. No, that's the age I thought.
It was
me and Johnny were talking about that. Johnny said, man, we just kind of, as an industry, we bail on guys really fast, like the turnaround is really fast, especially the running back position. And he's like, who's the last one you can think of you did that with? And I was like, Todd Gurley, man. Back-to-back years was number 1, and then all of a sudden the arthritic knee, and we're like, we're done now.
And we saw last year he was doing work, but it was all from the goal line work that he was picking up, and he wasn't his yards per carry. You needed him to get those touchdowns, and now he lost the job at the end of last season and coming in this year. Wait and see.
Yeah.
Whisper Nation, that's the end of this mock draft. We did it. Let us know who you thought won the draft. We'll be posting this up on Instagram as well. Make sure you like and follow and subscribe to catch not only the daily content coming your way to help you get ready for the season, but the drops to the sleeper rooms, invitations to other events that we're doing. We're going to have a lot more exciting content coming up during the off season. We want you to be a part of it. So we don't want you to miss out on any of that. Easiest way to make sure you're in on the loop is to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as Instagram and Twitter. We'll be dropping links and content coming every single day for the most part, building up towards another fantasy football season, another mock draft marathon, and some really exciting events post-pandemic. We're really, really excited to be participating with y'all. And Johnny, Travis, final thoughts?
Nothing. I don't have anything.
I will say I will double down on the final thought, and I will say I wanted to say one more time, thank you to every single person in Whisper Nation that reached out and wished me a happy birthday. It really meant a lot. And we build this community for you guys. And it's awesome when you feel warm and welcome from the community. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I had a great birthday. And yeah, that was
birthday. Love you, Johnny.
Love you guys.
And thanks to Stepmom Lauren again. Thank you, Whisper Nation.
Yes.
For the Fantasy Whispers.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook,